start giving the floor to the expert of the first workshop, Workshop 1, Innovative Solution for Transnational Water Management, Ciprian Nanu. He is coming from the Business Development Group, Eastern Europe Desk of Water Secretariat, and he will summarize the conclusions of workshop number 1.
Thank you, sir. The workshop that I've been participating, it was number 1. The theme was very generous about innovating water and how can we boost new ideas, initiatives, and projects in water innovation. I'm talking about a region where we are now, Romania, Bulgaria, Moldova. The designs of the wastewater treatment plants are still from 1970s. We did some refurbishments in a lot of cities, and the improvements are quite high in terms of water quality. But still, I believe that a lot of innovation technologies can be implemented in the future. In our workshop, I did a presentation about what we are, European Innovation Partnership for Water, a consortium of several companies trying to assist organizations in all Europe in the implementation of these new technologies. My role is Central and Eastern Europe, so not only Danube region, but Danube region in majority is a part of Eastern Europe. But also I'm interested in innovative projects in Albania or Macedonia or Moldova or name it, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia. After my presentation, it was a brief presentation from my colleague Marius from the Danube Transnational program, focusing more on ideas, what they can finance on this program, DTP. And I have 3 remarks coming from our audience. We need to have an idea, a theme first, and after that to create a partnership, and after that to look for the finance, not vice versa. Bankers or financiers, they need to think if our project ideas are good. They don't think first if we need 10,000 euro or 1 million euro. Partnerships are very important. Why? Because I think we in Eastern Europe, we are lacking cooperation, maybe also because of our past experience with centralized economies. But we need more bottom-up approach. We need to learn how to cooperate together, and I'm talking about 4 type of organizations: local and business administration, local and central administrations, businesses, technology companies, NGOs and civil society, and research and universities. We still don't cooperate enough in this part of the world, in the region. And later finance. I think finance programs exist, but first of all, we don't read carefully what is the program doing. We are not focusing on what we want. This was one idea, and the question, it was about co-finance. It was one gentleman asking about how can we cope with this problem of Romanian companies, and probably not only Romanian companies, trying to co-finance their problems. I think there are solutions. Let's try to be positive, but first let's talk about ideas and partnership. Don't talk about co-finance. A lady from the audience, we're not sure if DTP is only for the water or not. So DTP, as far as I know now, is focusing on 4 priority areas, not only water. And she proposed for the DTP team to go in their region. Well, for DTP, a region is also Romania, but maybe I think she mentioned northeastern Romania or western Romania so a more focused region to disseminate whatever we are doing now today here, because the people from all over the country couldn't arrive in Bucharest this day. That is a proposal, it's up to you. My belief is that I don't know the size of the team in Budapest, but I don't think they can go in any city or town in Romania or Slovakia or whatever to do whatever they do today. And a lady from Bulgaria recognized that Romania and Bulgaria are lagging countries in this part of the world. Depends, maybe yes. All the statistics in Europe looks that Romania and Bulgaria are on the left, on the right hand of any graph with small or negative numbers. But she gave a statement which I think is good to be repeated here. In Western Europe, funding goes to science. On opposite, in Eastern Europe, funding goes to making money for the organization. So the science is not a goal, but we try in Eastern Europe, she said, that we try in Eastern Europe to create the budgets for the organization. So I think it's a good statement and I want to express it with you. I don't know if it is right or not, but it's good to be mentioned. And she proposed mobile dissemination trips. So to go from one country to another and to create partnerships and projects and so on. It's difficult. I even don't know if a platform or web platform is good for that, because I don't see the result. But maybe it is a result, and I just want to send that information to you. That's it on my side, from the workshop number 1. If someone wants to add something, please let me know.
So any clarification you would like to add to the participants of workshop 1 or for the summary we just presented? If not, we can move to the conclusions of workshop number 2, Transnational Water Management for a Sustainable Future. I give the floor to the expert, George Constantin, Director of the Directorate for Water Resources Management in the Ministry of Environment, Waters and Forests of Romania.
Okay, thank you very much. Our workshop, as the title is mentioned, was focused on the transnational cooperation in water management. It was not so difficult to introduce because all the morning it was discussed about this part. But more specifically during our workshop, we presented the challenges in the transnational water management, and it was already said that water pollution and also hydrological modification and the climate change are the most important challenges which we are facing. In order to tackle these challenges, we presented the existing framework of cooperation, particularly concentrate on the ICPDR cooperation and the new cooperation within the European Union strategy for the Danube region, and more specific focus on environmental pillar and priority area 4 and priority area 5. It was important to mention that the ICPDR, the International Commission for the Protection of the Danube River, it's the most important platform for cooperation in transnational cooperation for water management. Moreover, we highlighted the high political commitment done this year by the ministers of environment and waters from the 14 countries, which express the main objectives or agreed and they, let's say, supported the main objectives of this cooperation. And us, because just to make a connection with our subject today, this Danube Transnational program, we are dealing with Danube River Basin Management and Floods Risk Basin Management, which are the main documents on which we have to concentrate in the water management field in order to implement and to reach the objectives of the Water Framework Directive Flood Risk Directive. It was also presented the result of this cooperation, lasting from 94, it's already 22 years. No, it's less. Particularly in this in these results, we can say that we establish a system of monitoring, we establish a system of awareness and warning in case of emergency situation. We just undertaken 3 expeditions during Danube survey in order to have a snapshot of the water quality alongside the Danube. We established a joint program of measures as a final product from the Danube River Basin Management. But also there are activities which are developed within the European Union strategy, in which mainly for the priority area 4 and priority area 5, we are following the same direction as ICPDR, and ICPDR is coordinator of most of the actions, but on the other hand, we have also some type of activities which are going beyond the competences of the ICPDR, and I'm referring here particularly to the cooperation in emergency situation by the authorities dealing with civil protection, which is an important, which have an important role in managing the environmental risk. It was presented also the project ideas which were defined within the existing cooperation related to sturgeon migration, to wetland restoration, to cooperation for this operational coordination in case of emergencies, to the sediment issues. These are project ideas which are some of them in a very advanced stage of formulation, and if we are lucky, will be approved soon. Also, we highlighted the future area of cooperation, particularly related to drought management and water scarcity, reduce the risk of accidental pollution, coordinated response to environmental emergency, fish migration, and operational cooperation. During the discussion, it was highlighted the need to build on existing results to avoid duplication. It was also some question related to the possibility to apply for certain projects, particularly this fish migration, traceability, study for fish migration in Iron Gate, which is a very important element in ensuring the migration of the fish, and particularly sturgeons, upstream on the Danube. Also, we had a question related to eligibility of non-EU member states, Ukraine and Moldova. It was postponed the answer for the later presentation. And issues related to improving the environment in a very particular area, Danube Delta, but also how the climate change could be tackled and could be supported in this program, in the future. And this is where the most important issue which we have discussed. Consider that it was very good workshop. Particularly, we agree that, or we consider that it was an agreement in the room on, let's say, this possibility to have further increase in cooperation and build on the existing results within ICPTR and the Danube.
Thank you very much, Mr. Konstantin. In fact, the project ideas, as you mentioned, it's one of the aims of this event. I saw many of you already dropped your business card in the partner search area. If you would like to share more ideas, we still have time in the blank papers to stick them, or you can even use our website. And now it's open, the partner search area, where you can offer your institution to become partner or present a project idea to ask for potential partners. For the Danube Transnational program, but of course in other programs that we will mention in the coming presentation, they have similar platforms for project ideas. Anyone would like to make some clarification or add something to the summary of workshop 2? If this is not the case, we will move to workshop 3, environmentally friendly transport systems, waterborne transport. I will give the floor to one of the experts. In this case, there were 2 in this workshop, but one of them is Gerkan Muillerman, one of the coordinators of Priority Area 1A of the Danube strategy. And this priority area is dealing with the improvement of mobility and intermodality, namely inland waterways.
Yeah, thank you very much. Also for giving me the opportunity to give a short wrap-up of today's session. My name is Gerkan Muillerman. I'm working for Via Donau since 14 years now. Via Donau is the Austrian waterway management company dealing with the development of transport on the Danube waterway, also maintenance of the waterway, but also restoring natural habitat along the Danube waterway. So we have this combined objective to bring it under one target, that we improve transport on the Danube, but at the same time also improve the natural and environmental conditions. I come from the Netherlands, so coming from a Rhine corridor, if you want, where 300 million of tons are approximately transported on the river each year. On the Danube, it's about 40 million. And in a country like the Netherlands, a modal split of 40% of inland navigation is quite usual. And coming from the Netherlands to Austria 15 years ago, I said, okay, why not do it on the Danube? Let's do it. But then I discovered that there's some differences between these 2 areas. In the Rhine area, we have basically 4 countries and have a whole different historical background, also industrial background, which gives enough transport volume to the river transport. And we have a good functioning waterway, and that's not the case in the Danube area, where we have 10 countries, out of which 3 are not EU member countries, and the waterway from its national background is just different, and we have to work on that. So, like Mr. Schweiger said this morning already in his presentation, what I like very much, we are sentenced to cooperation. We cannot just say, okay, we do our best in Austria and the river flows down, and automatically that's not the case. So, inland navigation operators don't really care about administrative or country borders. They want a full functioning waterway along the entire 2,400 kilometers. And just like the sturgeons don't care about the administrative borders, they just want to swim across and migrate across the whole Danube if possible. So that makes the themes that we are working on transnational by definition, and that is why our project, I think, automatically qualified for this criterion. But I think we are still few issues and challenges, and that's what we wrapped up in today's session. there's significant steps that are being made to increase the modal share, to improve the framework conditions for Danube navigation. There's been work on the different bottlenecks in the different programs, and also based on the work in the Danube region strategy and the predecessor of the Danube Transnational program in a project like Nevada Duo, we did establish a network of waterway operators along the entire Danube, and the positive results of that can be seen already today. There's other issues which prevent Danube navigation to attract more traffic. In addition to the navigational bottlenecks in the river, there's also a shortage of adequately educated personnel. We have an issue still with fleet modernization, which is lagging behind, and that's where the Danube region strategy and also the Danube Transnational program can really be of benefit, so that we can work on that together in the 10 countries that we are working with. So we still have current deficiencies, but we should also try to maintain what has already been achieved. On the more meta level, I would say that with the different projects we have triggered certain processes of linking the project results to the policy initiatives, so embedding really the technical inputs that come out of the projects that have been developed and linking that to the policy level, and that's what we succeeded in, I think, in several issues in our priority area, and we intend to continue with that. So there is a general interest of the different actors and stakeholders. We will need that active involvement even more in the next years, and a continuous and sustained joint effort is needed at the transnational level. The living and natural river like the Danube will never be ready in that sense. So we cannot say we do this infrastructure project in the year 2016 and then for the next 25 years we can start working on it. It's a continuous process, and I think with our activities, policy initiatives and the project initiatives, linking them together, I think we have set up such a continuous improvement process. We have been identifying in our workshop the added value of the Danube Transnational program regarding the different issues, and basically speaking, we do not expect from the Danube Transnational program to provide big money for infrastructural improvements. That is to be found in programs like the Connecting Europe facility and the structural funds. The Danube Transnational program can be really of added value in providing the strategic planning and these common levels of service and harmonization of targets. That is, I think, what the Danube region strategy and the Danube Transnational program can afford. And that is basically what we like to push in the next years. And project area 1A will continue to connect these project activities with the policy level. I think we play an important intermediate role there, embedding the project results in this policy context. And of course, the projects are the core of our activities. If there are no projects, we won't have results, and that's why, as priority area 1A, we will continue to facilitate technical assistance and advice to project promoters, and try to keep the project pipeline alive, and that we can really bring results over the next years. That would be my wrap up.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Mühlenmann. Any comment from some of the participants of this workshop, or from the participants of other workshop, that you would like to add something? He mentioned the different possibilities of funding. This will be one of the most interesting presentations of the day, the different funding opportunities, because many of you are asking where to apply, apart from the Danube Transnational programs. So the similarities and differences between the funding opportunities will be explained in the coming two presentations. But let's conclude this part of the conclusions of the parallel workshops with the intervention of rapporteur Pietro Elisei. He was not the expert of the expo, but he had been offered to be rapporteur of this workshop 4, dealing with the strengthening transnational multi-level governance for better water management.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. And the discussion in our workshop was focusing on 3 main issues: the governance, the strategic thinking, and the quality or qualities of the projects. I will report you some essentials of this discussion. About the issue of governance, we need comprehensive and effective governance schemes. And both in terms of vertical governance should provide instruments for facilitating the interinstitutional dialogue. This is essential, and this is a critical point in many Eastern European countries, from the central to the local level. Another issue we face is about the horizontal governance. It means the local level, the territorial level, should be open to all stakeholders. It means that both local institutions should have a dialogue with the civil society, but even with private investors, private actors. In this question of the governance, it is important to build trust. If you are capable to build trust among institutions and development actors, then actually the social, the territorial capital of a region, of a city, of even a project can rise, can be important, can become stronger. The second point is actually about the strategic thinking. When we design projects and even processes, they need to have a vision. It means to set up long and medium-term objectives. This is very important. Another point is to think clear pathways towards the achievement of the vision. Actually, we can have a vision, we can have an agreement, but then should be clear to the partners the small steps to do in order to achieve that vision. Finally, a good strategy is not a top-down one, but it is co-designed. It is co-designed by all interested development actors again. It's a co-production of development ideas. We have to introduce in the projects, in the strategic thing, this strategic things, this idea of co-designing, co-producting the project. The most important message here is that if we make projects without visions, then we are not going to have impact. But even if they are not internally well organized, anyway, they can have a good vision, then they do not impact because they don't have a clear logical framework inside. And the last point is about the qualities and the typology of the project. And here there is a very strong message. I mean, more room for innovation. It means experimentation of new instruments for facilitating this governance relation. It is easy to say we need a dialogue between between institutions, but actually how we make this dialogue. And here we have to be innovative. We have to invent new instruments. And another point actually is the engagement of, again, civic society and private investors into the design of the projects. And another point is even actually when we design the projects to keep clear in mind an old principle now, but still very valid, the sustainability. Because sustainability, it is important. Even in the moment that I think all the process, all the pathway towards the vision, but even actually in stating the principle of the objectives in the project. And when we talk about sustainability, of course, we are not talking about just environmental sustainability, even if the focus was the water, but we talk about social, economic, financial, logistic. No? This is a component that has more aspects. This was what we discussed more or less in our workshop. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Elisei. Any comment from your side, from the audience? Yeah. For the microphone, just 1 second. Meanwhile, I can tell you that all the presentations presented during not only the plenary sessions, but also the workshop will be available next week in the event website. And we will also summarize this WordPub session into a brief document for your information, and also for those who couldn't attend to the event to be informed what was the discussion about during the workshop. I would like to give the floor to the person in the group.
Dear ladies and dear sirs, first of all, we thank you for the extraordinary organization of this meeting and for the launching of the call. With this occasion, we have a please, if it is possible. We please you to arrange, if it is possible, a many distance between on the web information between the call, which has the deadline on 21 October, and the material for this call. Thank you very much.
Do you mean the difference between the first call that was open this week and the next one?
I and other colleagues have made some confusion between the call, which has the deadline on 21 October, the next month, which is the other call, which other direction, and the call for this program. Thank you very much.
It's not only about the calls, but we understand very well that still some people make some confusion between the Danube strategy and the Danube Transnational program. That call you were referring was a specific restricted call only for the priority area coordinators of the EU strategy for the Danube region. And that's why even there is no possibilities to submit form, because only those restricted participants in the call have received the possibility to submit the form. The first call, as you know, it was concluded, and there will be a new open call for everyone at the beginning of 2017. That's more or less the schedule. But in the website we have highlighted is only for the priority area coordinators, the call that is now open, but maybe we need to highlight it a bit more clearly, not to make confusion. Thank you for your input. Any other suggestion? If not, I would like to thank you again, the reporters and the experts, and I would like to invite you to join the audience, and we will continue with the third block of the day. So the third and last block, it's covering one very important aspect for many of you, the funding opportunities in the area. On water management, but not only. And we will talk about the Danube Transnational program after the coffee break. But before the coffee break, we would like to give you an overview of the different funding opportunities where to submit proposals on water management in the area. Basically, EU funding opportunities. For that, I would like to give the floor to Ms. Shoshana Kostis-Cooper. She is member of the Priority Area 4 coordination team of the EU strategy for the Danube region, and this topic is to restore and maintain the quality of water. This is the priority area she's working for in the strategy. So please, Shoshana.
Good afternoon, everybody. Do you hear me at the back? Everyone? I hope that you're still awake, because I know that after lunchtime it is very difficult here for everyone, so I hope I can keep you awake. I will have 50 minutes to speak to you about, and it will be about the funding opportunities. As Eloy rightly cited, I am a member of the Priority Area 4, that is water quality of the Danube strategy, so I work there as an expert. But I also work with the DG Environment external monitoring team, coordinating the line. So I have also an insight in the past 5 years of the line program, so I will also speak about that. During the lunch time, I was discussing with some of my nice colleagues, and I asked them, what do you expect from this presentation, this financial presentation? And she said to me, well, I hope you can cover all financial aspects and you can tell me what are the financial possibilities. But I can tell you that I will not cover all, because it's impossible to show you and explain all the financial possibilities and programs where they exist. What I try to do in the upcoming 50 minutes is to provide you an insight and try to outline you the structure of the potential funds and what the availability is, specifically focusing on water. Because I would like to share information with you about, first of all, the financial mechanisms, and afterwards about how to set up the projects, because we think, and I agree with all the colleagues who spoke before, we will need good projects in the future. So these will be the four big topics that I'll touch upon. Shortly present you the priority report that is water quality and explain to you how it's fitting into the Transnational program. Then the majority of the presentation will be focusing on the main financial possibilities for the region, trying to focus on the region because there are other possibilities outside. And then what can the Danube strategy offer, how can we help you as potential applicants, and also I would share with you some experiences and tips from the previous calls, not from the Danube Transnational program, but from also other programs. So you all hear me clear, right? Everybody. Let me just ask you a question. How many projects did you participate in? Did you ever participate in a project which was financed either by national or international transnational funds? Can you raise your hands if you've participated in a project? Well, I thought there were more, but okay, it's maybe 70%. And how many of you consider to participate in the future? Will you apply for funding in the future? Can you raise your hand? Okay, so maybe similar numbers. So I see that maybe all of you are interested about the financial possibilities. Very shortly about who we are and what we do. This is the Danube strategy, the water quality project in the area. And then, as Mr. Schweiger and also Mr. Konstantin highlighted before, we do focus on the water quality topics and problems. The main objective is to restore and maintain the quality of waters. The main challenges are very similar to the other challenges that the countries face. It is organic and nutrition pollution, hazardous substances pollution, hydrological alterations. And we do have different tools of implementation to focus on these problems. This is cooperating with relevant institutions, policy making, the alignment of funding. We do concentrate, similarly like PA10 and PA1 we cited before. And we try to facilitate project implementation. We do help our stakeholders to set up and bring the project ideas together and try to find some partners. And also we publicize our main results. Our major partner, similarly as to PA5, is the International Commission for the Protection of the Danube, the ICPDR, and then we do focus also on those problems that ICPDR is tackling because we're working together in synergy, similarly like in the South Commission. Just a very short, brief info for you to see how the steering groups are working. Each project area has a steering group, and then we have representatives from all countries. So there are people sitting there from Romania, also from the ministry, Serbia, Bulgaria, Romania, all the countries are participating there, and we meet them twice a year to discuss current issues. And we realized in the past 5 years while we operated with them that there is a need for different kind of focus. In the beginning, when we started the Danube strategy, we focused on the rules and procedures, and then the targets, and how we can have recommendations for different projects. And then we started soon to realize that we will need to have more systematic discussion. First we did the scientific era, and then we had discussions related to scientific topics. And then we realized that in 2014, when the new programming period started, that there will be a need for the financing programming issues to be discussed. And there we came to focus on the alignment of funding and the financial possibilities. And that this year today is specifically focusing on the projects and the setting up the consortium and how to help stakeholders in projecting. You can ask the main question, which I will show you in the later slides. What can we do and what are the potential possibilities for these financing mechanisms? And I can just show two brief outlines. This is the toolbox of different elements are available there. We need to select ones. The way to select them, I will explain to you later in the presentation, to select the best option for you. But there are ETC programs, national programs, training, cooperation programs, technical assistance program, Danube implementation facility programs, different possibilities. You need to select the most to suit in your project idea. And then there's also, we need to take into consideration the Europe 2020 strategy, and what is Europe is focusing on, because then you will realize that Europe and also maybe policymakers are not focusing basically on water. They might highlight it and put it under different things, and you will need to find the water possibilities under different headings. We all know, and some colleagues were citing earlier, that funding is available. Specifically in Western Europe, people say, money is there, you just need to find it. I think I'm coming from Eastern Europe and also from Budapest. I know that sometimes it is very difficult to find the amount. So this is the main question, where do we find this money, what we need for a water project? And then the difference is, and when I was doing this research for the presentation, also realized that the difficulty is that typically there's no specific heading for water. So very few programs will specifically highlight water goals. So you could find them under different headings. I just show you a few examples. This is the financial framework of the EU to 2020. I'm not sure if you see it right in the slide, but you can see that there are different headings, and under these different headings, like growth in jobs, or global Europe, or territorial integration, then there are amounts which are allocated into different priorities. Here again, what I would need to highlight, and I think one of my colleagues were mentioning to you before, that there are different levels of possibilities and different regulations also. And we need to differentiate between the different funds. There are centralized management funds, so they're basically mostly covered by and managed by the EU, and then there are macro-regional programs. But there are also decentralized management funds, and then that is the bigger chunk from that point of view of how they are available for EU stakeholders, and it is through the national operating programs. The way it is set up at the European level, that there is the EU level setting up the regulatory framework, they set up, they define and discuss the different regulations, and then there is the national level agreement between the different countries and the EC, the EU with the partnership agreements. And then also later on comes the national level with the actual operational programs. So I think what you need to be clear about is that you do not only look at specific funding opportunities, but you will need to look at the whole spectrum, whether it's EU, national, or regional, local level. There are different financial instruments, and then there are different channels. So a colleague who asked what are our programs and where are to be found, I can tell you that there are different settings and different categorizations. One is true that they are territorial programs, and also the operative programs, the structural programs, and that they are available as sectoral programs. This is just an example. Not all of them are related to water, because from this, I think the Horizon 2020, I'll have a nice slide about it, that has some water-specific funding working plans, and then among these, this the thematic programs, the LIFE, which is specifically focusing on water. Some other funds, like Connecting Europe Facility or some other, they are not specifically related for water, they're better used for infrastructure or transport. And then also there's the Interreg Europe, which are, and the Interreg different programs that I will talk about. So when I was mapping and doing preparation for this presentation, I was trying to show you the different headings. In the multi-annual framework that I showed you before, the different programs are found under the different headings of the financial instruments. And the heading 1A is competitiveness for growth in jobs. Basically, when you want to find for a water program, you might not look for growth in jobs, but this is now like a sexy title in the EC, in the EU. Everybody's talking about growth in jobs because this is one of the priorities of the EU 2020 strategy. And it is true that some programs are put under the budget of heading 1A, competitiveness for growth in jobs. For example, Horizon 2020, what I will speak about, or the COSME program, which provides guarantees, not so much of the grants. And I think most of you are interested about the grants and not the financial mechanisms. The heading 1B is the territorial cohesion. That has the 5 different setups. Most importantly, the territorial cooperation, but is a tiny bit. If you look at the financial availability, and also the cohesion fund, the regional convergence, which is giving larger opportunities. Then heading 2 was the sustainable growth, natural resources. This is typically something what is not so evident that it is also for water, but it is, and the only European environmental program focusing specifically on environment and climate and nature is the LIFE program, and I will also talk about that. And And then heading for Global Europe, which is most importantly for those countries who are neighboring countries or newly accessing countries, the European Neighboring Instrument, the Instrument for Pre-Access, and the Partnership Instrument. So these are all possibilities. Some of them are related to water, but not all of them are useful for you because it depends on who you are, what kind of stakeholder you are. Okay, and then the so-called ESHI funds, maybe you've heard about them when you were discussing. These ESHI funds are the structural funds that covering more than 75% of the whole total EU budget. So there's a large chunk of amount of funds, but not all of them can be used for water. As a matter of course, certain type of projects can be financed out of this. It consists of 4 different funds: the European Regional Development Fund, the European Social Fund, which is not really tackling water issues, the Cohesion Fund, the European Agriculture Fund for Rural Development, specifically the CAP projects, and the European Maritime and Fisheries Fund. When I was trying to find the actual heading for environment protection and resource efficiency within this multi-annual framework, then I find that for till 2020 there is like 85 billion euro available for this kind of environment protection and resource efficiency in the different categories of budget. So then you will need to research actually where to find the money. And then there's other different headings. We will not have time, but you can see it later in the presentation. It's interesting, for example, on the first slide in the blue, there is Horizon 2020, so you can see that the large amount of funds compared to, for example, in heading 2, the life is only small red mark. So there are different differences about the availability and the amount of the budget. Another chunk, a big program which is important for us, and that was particularly tackled by the VTP presentations before, is the European Territorial Cooperation. These territorial cooperations are like the second most important strategic point of the EU to have a joint actions and policy exchanges between national, regional, and local actors between the different member states. And it is to provide economic, social, and territorial development of the Union as a whole. Interreg itself is built into 3 different layers, and different kind of projects are also established within there. Interreg A, the cross-border projects, the transnational Interreg B, and the interregional Interreg C. This is also small information because there are different projects and programs available. Whether it's cross-border, there's more than 60 programs which are of a cross-border nature. I will show you some details about them. There are good opportunities for some in the cross-border situation. Then the transnational Interreg programs, like the current Danube transnational program belongs there, or then the interregional Interreg programs, like Interreg Europe, Interreg Escon, or Urbana. The Interreg investment priorities, as they were also mentioned before, there are 11 investment priorities laid down, and what is important that these investment priorities need to be incorporated, some of them in the different programs. I will not get into the details, but you need to know that there is a heading environment and resource efficiency, and many of the Interreg programs are tackling that. And mostly within that priority, you would find water projects to be funded. Here is Interreg in Europe. There are different possibilities. So if you're located, I don't know, in Romania, then you would find Romania and Hungary CPC programs, or maybe Romania-Serbia program, or then Hungary and Slovakia program, different CPC programs, and also, oh, am I too fast? It's difficult to follow. Okay, then I'll slow down. So there are different possibilities also for Interreg, the transnational programs. The Danube transnational program is only one among the other ones. So there, for example, for certain countries, I will talk later, also possibility in the central transnational as well. So for transnational possibilities, and I was trying to map those possibilities which are for this region. And then Interreg Europe, as I mentioned in the previous slide, and then the Interreg Central Europe, which is similar to the transnational program, but on the other hand, different, because it's a different territorially, so it's a different geography, different countries are applicable. For that, like Austria, Croatia, Czech Republic, Germany, partly, Hungary, and part Italy, Poland, Slovakia, and Slovenia. So you see some of the countries which are eligible for Danube Transnat, like Romania or Bulgaria, are not in here. But for the other countries, and if you happen to be from the other country, like the Czech Republic or Croatia, you can also do apply to Interreg Central Europe. They also have priority access 3, and within that you can find some water projects to be funded. There are some requirements for partnership, and I can tell you that all programs are having different rules, not just eligibility of partners, but also different kind of eligibility. So you need to be informative and informed about the programs. For the Central Europe, they need to have 3 partners. That is the minimum, but there are projects up to 12 partners as well. Usually between 1 and 5 million, the projects range, so it's different. But what is important, and I think that is similar also to the Danube Transnational program, that you should build on existing knowledge, but you need to deliver realistic results and also drive to measurable change, improvement in the situation in that area. I think what you will find later on is measurable result is the key when you build your project proposal. And then another transnational possibility, I was checking also the calls and I was checking the results of the Interreg Central, and I saw that most of the applications and most of the successful projects were coming from priority access to resource efficiency. So it's like the environmental projects were highly appreciated there. They will also have a next call next year. Interreg Danube Transnational program, obviously, all they talk about the Danube Transnational program, and they also now aware of the fact that mostly priority access 2 is the one which focuses on water issues. But as we learned today in our workshop, also you can finance some innovative projects under the priority access 1 if it's related to innovation. But mostly we were focusing on priority access 2. I also tried to put the related websites, so if you need to do research, then you can find them in different programs. Then when I was doing the research, I also checked the Commission's information systems and was trying to find potential possibilities for water. And then if you go to Interregio's website, the cross-border transnational interregional cooperation for water, then you will find different possibilities depending on the country you are. And I noted that not all the possibilities are listed there. So for example, in Austria there is also only Danube, but like Central Europe is not listed. And many other links are missing. But anyway, I was trying to highlight you for those countries who possibly will be sitting here today to show you what are the options for cross-border transnational interregional cooperation. Then I think, which is the bigger chunk, and this is what we normally don't talk about, but I think it's even more important, is the national programs. Because as I mentioned to you, the majority of the funds which are available would be available to you by the national operative programs. And that I think is even more difficult because there are specific regulations under each country. And what the Commission was doing is signing up partnership agreements and defining and agreeing on the priorities of each country. When I was checking for research in water, the operative programs, not all the countries were listed there. And I was surprised because some of the countries like Austria was missing from research. But for example, I know that in Hungary there is an environmental energy efficiency operative program. In Croatia, competitiveness and cohesion operative program. Within that you can have the water sector finance. In Slovakia there is a direct quality of environment operative program according to the EU research. So they are operative programs existing in all your countries. And what I can advise you is to go to your operative program national contact points and to find out the results. I know that some people, when I'm discussing with them, they say it's more difficult to get financed by an operative program in a national country because we all know the reasons why. But so some others are saying that if you apply to a centrally funded European program or a transnational program, maybe the independent experts are evaluating the proposal in a different manner. So it's difficult, but the national programs are bigger availability for you also to search for your water funding. But it's also depending on what the national priorities are. So mostly they fund large scale projects. And then here is just an example also for cross-border cooperation. I was searching for the Hungarian ones because I'm more familiar with those. programs, and we noted that there's new Interreg programs, CBC programs for Slovakia, Hungary, Slovenia, Hungary, Croatia, Hungary, Serbia, Austria, Hungary, Romania, Hungary. And there is also any Hungary, Slovakia, Romania, Ukraine program. But these programs, and I also listed the relevant websites available to your country in your CBC programs. What are the general characteristics? And I think that could be interesting for you to see if you apply for a cross-border program, what are the normal facts. First of all, what is the fact that each program is different. So you do not find one topic which will be eligible everywhere. Each program is different in its objectives, and the CBC programs are specifying their different objectives. But they all commit themselves to contribute to the macro-regional strategy, specifically the Danube strategy as well. As a consequence of our various shares of specific programs are dedicated to the categories in questions. Some of them with focus, most of them, I was checking the cross-border programs, most of them are trying to focus on nature and local transport, like very specific calls are not easy to find related to water. And the programs differ by their approach, how they collect credits. Some of them are having an open call approach, like an open system, like Austria, Hungary, Slovenia, or any programs. And some operate with periodic calls. So if you go to their website, you can see when the next call will be open. But most of them have strategic or restricted calls. Usually eligible partners are public equivalent from the program areas. So if you're business sector, probably you will not go to this direction, you would try to find something else. The monitoring methods are usually similar. We need to prepare progress reports and do some follow-up reports as well. The typical project size varies, and I was also checking the CBC projects. And what was striking is that the success rate is 40%, at least with the experts I talked to. But if you're deciding to apply for a CBC program, you have higher chances of winning than if you would go for Horizon 2020. Of course, it's different because it's a different climate, and you will need to have a specific regional or cross-border problem to be tackled. The ratio of financial support is maximum 85%, as we also discussed in the first workshop. And you need to know that in many countries, the additional 15% is provided by national co-funding. So I can tell you that these CBC programs and also the Interreg type of funding are providing you the relatively highest amount of the EC funds compared to, for example, LIFE, where only 50 or 60% is supported. If you're some nature program, you can have 75. So this 85% plus the 50 national financing secured is the highest you can, almost the highest you can get. And then I listed some of the newest websites of the CBC programs which are currently operating, and they have open calls even now. I also mentioned that the experience is very good co-financing rates, relatively high success rate, less competition, so there will be less people applying for CBC than for H2020. When I was checking the successful projects, I noted that you need to, and that will be true for the other programs as well, you will need to have time enough for preparation. The successful projects were prepared for 36 months. So it's not like I have an idea and then in 2 days I will have the proposal. You will need to have at least half a year, but in most other cases, 1 or 2 years for preparation. When I find that mostly the CBC programs have 6 to 9 partners, and of course it depends. And what is important, and could be used as a good result for embedding the strategy is, for example, in the Slovakian Hungarian CBC program, if somebody gets a letter of recommendation from a priority area of the Danube, you get an additional 2 points. You would get additional 1 point in the Hungarian, Romanian, and Hungarian, Serbian operative programs. So maybe it's sometimes good to approach the relevant priority areas of the Danube and ask for a letter of recommendation. Maybe your project will get additional funding when they decide about it in the CBC and the committee. And then there are some sectoral programs. If you remember in the previous slide, I showed you that there are many programs under the ESHI fund and the territorial cooperation programs, but they are depending on the different territorial categories.
And here we speak about sectoral programs, and both of them are centrally managed by the European Commission. So it's Horizon 2020 for water, and the other one is specifically dedicated to the environmental sector, that is the LIFE program. So I have a few slides about addressing the Horizon 2020 possibilities. Can you tell me how many people applied for Horizon 2020 from the EU? Is there somebody? Okay, you see, because there are some people in the university, and also we discussed. Good. And how many people applied for LIFE? So you're also aware of that as well. So then you probably all know that the Horizon 2020 program is the biggest program of the EU, focusing on research and innovation, and with a budget of almost 80 billion euros. That is a relatively high amount, and it is contributing to the Juncker's Commission's policy agenda and also the component of Europe 2020. It is focusing on growth and jobs. When I was saying that in the EU everybody is focusing on growth and jobs, the Horizon 2020 program is doing the same. They're focusing on growth and jobs because it is the interest of Europe not to have unemployment rate high, and then to try to have an innovative agenda at the end. The Horizon 2020 is addressing people's concerns. So when they elaborate the working programs, they define so-called societal challenges. And under different societal challenges, you will find the program or the work program what you need. And then the major aim of the Horizon 2020 Research and Innovation Program is to actually strengthen the EU's global position in this research and innovation field. So they are trying to couple research and innovation and to maximize the impact. So that's why Horizon 2020 is focused like that. And then when I was searching, the project proposals are presented to call for proposals. So they are not one call like in the transnational programs, but they will be different calls. And it's very difficult sometimes to find which is the next call, which is the upcoming call, which will be the call which will be relevant for your project. In most cases, and I think it's also typical for the transnational projects, you will need to have an international consortium because you simply cannot have it otherwise. The best projects are chosen for financing are based on the evaluation of independent experts. I think it is also true for the transnational. The programs are also for LIFE. But there is also an additional requirement in cooperation with industry, and there are some targeted instruments to help that. So the H2020 Societal Challenge 5, that is where you can find financing possibilities for water. And also we talk about resource efficiency, like in the other transnational calls, not only to quote. In 2016 and 2017, the Societal Challenge 5 was partly covering water, but most of the calls were in 2016. So if somebody was applying for water funds in Horizon 2020, that would be better if they apply this year, because most of the bigger calls were this year. Some of them will be also continue to next year, but they all had increased emphasis on delivering innovative solutions. And I can go back to Mr. Schweiger's presentation and also Mr. Nanu's speech, that they all look for innovative solutions. So it is a must if you apply for H2020. All the other points are somehow linked to innovation, like to have a systematic approach to innovation, unlike private and public investment in future innovative solutions. And then there are some possibilities for large-scale demonstration projects with replication potential. These are the other societal challenges, and then you can find under different headings some possibilities for water financing. But it is true that water is mainstreaming, so it's like a linked approach. And I think with Mr. Schweiger and also Mr. Orga's presentation, it was obvious that water is linked, and it's also like an integrated approach. So you will need to find it under different heading. You can find some water projects under climate action, under systematic eco-innovation for circular economy, or under sustainable growth. And I listed some of the topics in the current work program which have a clear relevance to water. For example, there will be an upcoming call on the large-scale demonstration of nature-based solutions for hydrometeorological risk reduction that will be aiming about 12 million euros, so those are big ones, upcoming calls. But then there are other calls which some of them passed this year, some of them are also upcoming later on. You can see them in the list. This is important, that innovative water solutions are to be funded and that we need to support the implementation of the objectives of the European Innovation Partnership, what Cyprian was also saying, and the joint programming initiative on water. I was also trying to find some basic principles of the H2020 goals and what were the results. And then 3 strategic priorities exist, and probably will be similar in the future goals, that they target open innovation, open science, open to the world, and then they have different principles. Some of the principles are similar to other programs, like maximization of the European added value. That is something which the Transnational program would also have. But this is different, that here the program covers the whole research and innovation cycle. And then I also checked, in total, in the last 100 calls, in the past 2 years, there were 100 calls, Horizon 2020, and more than 31,000 proposals were submitted for these 100 calls. And out of that, 4,315 were retained for funding. So then, if you calculate the success rate out of these proposals, it would be, on the first 100 calls, it's about 14%. So if you apply for Horizon 2020, then you have a large competition compared to the CDC program, where it's like 40% of success rate. Horizon 2020 is a tough competition, and then you have, as we were citing in the innovative workshop, hard competition from Austria, Bavaria, very large companies who are really good and successful in competing. So somebody from Central Europe might have a difficulty to win, but when I was talking to people, they say their strategy is to join successful consortium from Vienna or Spain, for example. 38 of the successful applicants were newcomers, so it is somehow striking. I would think that those successful applicants for FP7 program would be winning again, but it seems that there are still room for newcomers, so still new potential applicants can have a chance to win. I was checking there are 102 projects from the environmental sector, which were successfully selected in the first 100 calls from environmental challenges. I was reading through the projects, and I noted that the average project period was about 5 years. And then I was trying to calculate the average price of the project, and it's about 6.6 million euro. So, you can range. You can have much less amount, but a few million euros are truly true for the Horizon 2020 projects. I was also checking the partners, and then I could see that the largest project I've seen in the environmental sphere was having 31 partners, which I think could be a nightmare from a project management point of view, but then it shows that also the consortium are quite big in Horizon 2020. And then there's also some graphs. I just chose one graph that I thought could be useful for you. Is what type of organizations are successful applying Horizon 2020, and not surprisingly, the research and innovation program, then the universities were the highest applicants. And you can see the first column where the universities were in 14% of their applications were funded. Then of course the other possibilities for private sector or research organizations, but then you can see that they have less applicants than 100. Public sector is the lowest in H2020, and then there are other organizations in the last column. That was about H2020, which is the largest. So I still think that there are chances if you have a water project, but you do need to have to think that their consortium are really competitive, and then similarly like a transnational program, you would need to work hard to get a successful application. The LIFE program, which is the second so-called sectoral program, which is very tiny compared to Horizon 2020, but it is unique because this is the only one which is focusing on the environment. It has more than 25 years of history. It's a large project portfolio plan, and in LIFE Transnational is an added value. difference is that in the past year the Commission realized that they need to do some different in their programming, and they started to fund integrated projects which are much larger than the normal life projects. And also a new thing is, I will explain later, the new thing is that non-EU countries under certain conditions can also apply. And it covers all the main topics of the environmental pillar. The budget, you can see that it's tiny, it's like 3.5 billion. It's compared to the 80 billion of Horizon 2020, you can see it is really, really low. But nevertheless, projects are still funded from this, and for some of the, like for environmental NGOs, this is maybe the only opportunity to fund some of their projects. Sub-program environment is 2.1 billion, and there is also a climate program of the LIFE program, which is 0.69 million. There is also possibility for NGO grants, which is operative grants, and they have a different code for NGOs, which is 63 million euros. The objectives are, the program is similar to like Horizon 2020 or the Transnational. They have different priorities, and then for the objectives related to environment and water, they contribute towards a resource-efficient, low-carbon and climate-resilient economy, protecting and improving the environment, maintaining and improving biodiversity, in particular the Natura 2000 network. And besides, they also implemented the 7th Environmental Action Program. And then I was also checking MX3, that is focusing on the different water examples, and then Water Framework Directive specifically mentioned the Urban Wastewater Directive, the Marine Strategy Framework, the nitrates, the groundwater, and the banking water are specifically called in the program, so that if you need to work with those directives, then it is covered by the LIFE program as well. The geographical coverage, some of the participants asked me, it is possible under certain conditions to be part of the consortium if you're not within the EU, but then certain third countries may participate, but they need to have a basic cooperation agreement with that. And then it is possible only when the cooperation of the partner outside of the EU is necessary to implement some EU objectives to reach. The general features, I was checking also the statistics. Most of the participants who applied for LIFE funding are coming from the NGO side and SME side. It's particularly from the nature part, they would be also nature parks. And from the environmental sector, some of the industries are also applying for LIFE. But I have to tell you that there is some difficulty with the program. One is that the co-funding rate is the lowest. So if you compare to cross-border CBC programs or even the Horizon 2020, LIFE is offering less EC funding. So normally, typically for environmental projects, it's 50%. If you have a higher priority species, it could be the 75 nature, but obviously it's not as high as the 85, which is in the CBC programs. It is difficult because it's not focusing on research. So if you have a project idea, and it is focusing on research, don't go to the LIFE program, you should need to go to the Horizon 2020. It's not large infrastructure. I have a colleague or stakeholder colleague who every year approaches me and says that, well, I want to apply for LIFE and I don't understand why the LIFE program rejects me. And I keep telling him, don't apply for LIFE because they don't fund large infrastructure projects. You should need to go to structural funds. But then they keep applying for LIFE and then they don't succeed. LIFE doesn't fund the large infrastructure projects. What they finance is demonstrative projects. So if you have a project idea and you want to show that it works in small scale, then you do go and apply for LIFE. There are many examples for successful projects, from soil monitoring to mobile water laboratory to like fire implementation systems, and they are applicable for LIFE funding. Large infrastructure projects are not. The European Commission is monitoring the program, and also the background commission is now the EASME, the background institution, and they also have an external monitoring team. Okay, these are the facts that I was mentioning to you before. And the new thing is with LIFE, and I was thinking maybe it could be important for the Danube and such, that they have a new programming possibility, the integrated projects. and they are for big projects. I was just checking the current IP projects. They're like 15, 16 million euro funding, and it is large, much larger than a normal project, which is about could be 1 and 3 million euros. The large integrated projects are implementing the Union environmental and climate plan and strategies, like the water management plans, possible for live funding. And there is also a large German project which is just funded, and also a UK project related to water, and then they focus on water implementation plans. So it is possible under the LIFE. And there's also technical assistance for preparation. So if you think that preparing a large project under the LIFE program, you can get apply for funding for 100,000 euro. The calls are normally, the LIFE calls are normally closing in September and October. And normally they're one calls, like one stage calls. The IP projects, they have 2 stages. The success rate is also low, because I was checking it's about 10% for environmental projects. The nature projects are higher from success rate. And then I was also searching for Danube, and altogether more than 434 projects were funded, which are specifically related to water. So it is an option. Mostly the beneficiaries are from one country, but if you have a demonstrative idea, and you can also provide the co-funding, which is, you need to have a larger amount, then you can go to LIFE. Okay, just a small slide about the IPA instrument. And if you remember in the first slides, I was showing in the Global Europe heading, there is the possibility for the instrument for pre-accession assistance. And then the current beneficiaries are Albania, Bosnia and Herzegovina, the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia, Kosovo, Montenegro, Serbia, and Turkey. And then all in the link, the website where I basically, you can also find the national contact points for the IPA stakeholders. So I advise you to contact, if you would think about the funding from IPA, to find the national contact points and get further information about them. One important thing is, and I forgot to mention, that most of these programs, what I talked to you about, they all have very good websites. So you need to go to the website. Mostly I listed them in my presentation. But also they organize the informative days. So if somebody was missing informative days, I think all the programs are organizing info days. The LIFE program organizes it twice in 2020. Normally they have it in September in Brussels, but they also in different regions as well. So I think if you think about going to these funds, then you should visit all these info days. Much of the information is available also on the website LiveStream. Other sources, as I mentioned to you in the beginning, there are many other sources of financial possibilities, not just the operative programs, not just the different bishop funds, but also CPC programs or the Horizon and the LIFE. There are specific Danube implementation facility possibilities. There is a seed money facility, and in the future there will be some seed money calls with the Danube Transnational program, specifically for preparing further projects. Details will be shared later on. And then there were some technical assistance facility possibilities, also smaller amount. We heard in the first workshop, but you do not have to always think big, because in order to prepare a big proposal, you might need to prepare it in small. And then you might need to go to some seed money facility to get 40,000–50,000 euro to start to building a project, and then you can go for big funds later on. But you need to start maybe in smaller. What I also did, and what I also thought it would be useful for you, is to list some of the researching options, because there's so many possibilities available on the internet for research tools. The Commission is funding the Euro Access database. I think maybe Marco was also mentioning this. It is an online tool for searching EU funding options. It is operating, so if you just go to the website, EU Access, then you can get, if you put on water and then you select the country where you are, then it will give you the different financial options where you can go for funding. And then I also put some of the other researching possibilities. What I was trying to speak in my presentation was mostly about grants, But they're not just grants in the European funding mechanisms, there are also other possibilities. Currently, I realize that the programs, or many programs, are trying to also incorporate other funding possibilities, like different guarantees or loans to their programs. I think it's very difficult, maybe for a university or for an NGO to go for loans direction, but that is also possible. The European Investment Bank is also providing some tool, not just they provide the loans possibility, we try to agree and achieve help for Ukrainian wastewater treatment possibility. They obtain like 400,000 euro for their fund. But the EIB is also providing advisory service. They have the so-called EIB Advisory Hub, where the EIB experts can help you to shape your project ideas that would be available for future funds. And of course, there are other possibilities. I'm not going to go into details because I'm not a banking expert. The EBRD, but there's also the Transnational facility. So there are different banking options, national, other regional resources, and also private investments. But I wanted to share with you the normal granting, so-called granting possibility options. A few words about the alignment of funding, because the Danube strategy are paying focus on the alignment of funding, and we are collecting information on funding possibilities. PA4, our project area, will soon publish a brochure about the funding possibilities. We will focus on the water funding possibilities. We will provide it also to our website. And then we also provide help to project generation and networking. We were the first project area who adopted the so-called list of intervention areas where we want to focus on our financing the priorities topics. We also organize some financial conferences. We will organize one next year. We had one last November, and I think it was very useful for us to also learn what the stakeholders want. And I realized that what people want is they want to have clear information. They want to know where to turn to, who to search, and if they have questions, where to go to. So then what we can offer, and what we offered last year as well, is to provide the presentations from the different programs and also from the different countries with website with accurate data. And then also what we find out is most important for the people who come to conferences like you come here is that networking. Because I think for future projects we need to find partners, and maybe it's an option also for these networking conferences. Okay, some targets and results what we did in the past years. Most important is that we will also elaborate some or help or assisted in the elaboration of project proposals for some topics which are very important for us, and were also cited by Mr. Konstantin and also by Mr. Schweiger, the sediment, the issue of the sediment, and also the cooperation of the sub-discipline. But the direct effort project is also important for project area 5. And we will continue helping in projects to search for funding and also search for project partnership. The additionality, and I will, I think, line up because maybe my time is soon over, is that we try to help you or other stakeholders in the cross-border cooperation, territorial cooperation, and we try to link policy with project implementation. Our experts are involved in the CDC and operative programs to ensure that the Danube strategy focus is also incorporated with the different programs. Some success said that I'm telling you this because some of the stories started that some stakeholders approached us and they said, we have a problem, for example, in Ukraine, or we have another problem in Salt Lake Mine, and then the PA4 and also the Danube Commission in Hungary decided to go there and go to some site mission together with the European Union and to try to find out if there is a problem, there was a salt mine problem in Solotvino, or there's an urban wastewater treatment difficulty in other parts of Ukraine, to go there and try to find out what the situation is. Currently the mission is still ongoing in Solotvino with high-level review mission to try to elaborate the project to get access to funding, to try to finalize and have tackle a problem. So we're there, and in case some people will have some environmental degradation project or problem, and you can also approach us and we try to help you to direct you to the different programs. Because we do believe that projects are the most important part of our works. Without good projects, it was also mentioned before, they are not no zones, so we will need to ensure that they are good projects in large scale. You can see, and I highlighted some of the pictures, the left right corner, the left corner picture is the salt mines, Salotino, for example, taken from last year's mission. So there is still problems in water-related problems in Europe and in part of this Danube. We do need to have further work. We also think that more transnational cooperation is needed. We do think that we need to have further cooperation between EU stakeholders and between us, and also have further projects be funded. I highlight again that we need good projects to improve water quality in practice and to achieve results, and we will be there to help assessing with the steering groups and also with the different stakeholders to tackle if there is a problem. A few more slides if you have still some patience before the coffee break. Is that from the last financial conferences and also talking to different stakeholders, we're trying to find out what is to make a good project and what are the experiences of the partners. What do we find out, and also we discussed in some of the programs, that you have to have clear targets and the project idea needs to be ready. Because as my colleagues were rightly saying before, you need to have a problem you want to solve, you need to have an idea. It is not like that you want to find some funding and then you will think about to spend that. But it is if you have a problem or if you have already a project idea, then you need to search for appropriate funding. And then you have to have connection between the aims, the actions, and the expected results. And I tell you that most programs will look for the appropriate results, at least the aimed result in your proposal. So you need to have that clearly defined in your application. This is a link to the results can be measured and need to be visible. The EC is not paying specific attention on the indicators. I can tell you that in the LIFE program, years were spent also at the higher level to try to define the indicators. And if you go and continue in other programs as well, so mostly you also need to define good indicators, but it is different according to the program you go for financing. You need to calculate ahead for risks. I also tell you that in Central Europe, you're probably mostly aware, procurement is a terrific problem. And most of the projects I'm also monitoring are delayed 1 or 2 years, basically because they cannot get the approval because of procurement. And also the plans are getting, the permits are getting longer time to be approved. So when you put your project together, it should be that you allocate a buffer timing, because these problems will exist with the procurement, with the delayed permitting. You need to have a dissemination strategy, and I think what the Western countries are very good about, that they normally have an expert which is really focusing on the dissemination and the PR marketing side of the project. I think in Eastern Europe or Central and Eastern Europe we tend to forget that, but that is something we need to incorporate as well. And then in most programs, you need to have long-term sustainability, and you have to think about the EU added value as well. This is the project development tips, and I'm not going to detail because I know the time is almost up. But then the starting point is always to have your project idea, and then from that you need to build up further. Another important thing is the partnership, and when we were discussing about the partnership, one of our experts were saying that to be part of a project consortium can be fun and also can be a nightmare. And maybe you also experienced that in your previous life, that if you're a part of a consortium where one partner just doesn't reply to your phone calls, it doesn't send a financial report on time, then you will be in big trouble. So then when you decide who will be your partner, you will need to think about it. On the other hand, if you have good partners who you trust and who are really capable, that could be a nice way of working. She also said that finding the partners is not as difficult as it seems. What is difficult to find an excellent partner in short term? And I can tell you that in one of the big projects, what PB4 was also somehow see the insights, they were searching, they had partners in all Danube countries except one. And then to find one partner from one Danube country, I'm not going to mention which country it was, also participating here, it was really difficult and took a lot of time and effort from all stakeholders because they just couldn't find the excellent partner from that particular country. But my major idea and tip to you, you need to know the program first before you start building the partnership. And then I advise you to contact the managing authorities and also the program itself, try to find out the rules. Most importantly, they are listed in the website. Then I also try to do some mapping exercise for you, because the clear target is, as I mentioned to you, to have the project idea first. And then when you have that ready, you can search for the funding. But that will depend on, the presentation will be available online, because maybe some of the slides are not so visible. But if it's a cross-border type of a problem, it should be like directed to CBC programs. If it's a transnational idea or transnational program, then you can go to the new transnational program of Central Europe. If it's a national issue, most likely you should turn to your operative program. Also, if it's a local issue, then the solution will be at the local level operative program. Then also some mapping, if you know that your project is a demonstrative type, then you clearly try to go to life, because that is focusing specifically on demonstrative projects. If you have some kind of cooperation, more strategical cooperation instrument or project you want to focus on, then you might go to Interreg, and I listed you the examples where you go to. This is clear. If it's a research project, then probably you will try to tackle in Horizon 2020. If it's a large infrastructure project, then you would need to go to the big funds or try to find a bank who would finance you, and also the operative programs are great for doing that. Okay, and then I think I have 2 more slides. It is how to find partners and what to consider. It is where to search. I was talking in the breaks with some of the colleagues, and you were saying, well, we don't know how to search partners, and we don't know any German partners, we need somebody from Austria. And then the option is that either you search in your own network. Obviously, if you ask the question, you don't have the partners, so you need to find it somewhere else. You can also go to the demonstrative resources, maybe they can help you. But then I think it's very important to go to events like this, or some brokerage events, matchmaking or information days. And I think it's a very useful example that the Transnational program is also doing, to try to find project ideas and help in your matchmaking. But then there are also matchmaking services like the EEN, the Cordis, the KEEP network, the Research Participant Portal. With the Horizon 2020, they have all Research Participant Portal. But the KEEP project is also there. Cyprian was also mentioning the EIP water. They have a marketplace. You should go there and put your potential project. You can also search for partners. So there's many possibilities on the internet already to try to find your partners. And then you need to consider a few things. Whether do you trust this partner? I tell you, if you don't trust them, it's no way of working with them. And I also had a live project cut off because one of the UK partners just could not cooperate with one of the other beneficiaries. So then you need to have the initial trust to start building a partnership. You need to find out whether they are appropriate, because they might be the best research organization. Maybe you would need some SME. Do they have the required skills? Sometimes it's happening that is the national agency, but then they just don't have the national those skills what you would need for that typical project. Then you also have to have a geographical balance. I think in the CDC programs they're also saying that you have to have minimal requirements you have to fulfill. And then so these, like 4 words, partners need to be relevant, competent, balanced, and committed all to the project. Without all these, you probably will not have a successful partnership. And then the final recommendations, I think you need to first think what your aim is, what the problem is, what your aim is, and how you want to tackle that. And then you can think about who you want to tackle that problem, how, when, where, and for how much it can be implemented. And then also with the mapping exercise, you need to find out which financing mechanism is the one that suits the project the best. And only that, and only after that, you can really start building up your project proposal. And I have to emphasize again what Mr. Schweiger was saying, it's not enough time for like a few days for preparation. You need maybe 2 or 3 years to really have a basic project proposal that could be really funded. So I really wish you good luck for all this project preparation exercise, and thank you very much for your attention. I would also like to call your attention, as Mr. Rinda was mentioning, there will be the annual forum of the Danube strategy in the 3rd and 4th of November in Bratislava, but there also will be a very high-level water event, the Budapest Water Summit, the UN general level, which will be held at the end of November in Budapest. So I think I might see most of you or some of you there in those opportunities. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that despite these late hours and despite my 50 minutes of speaking without a break, that I can still listen to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Susana, for this very complete presentation of all your effort. We need this presentation has required a lot of research and time from your side. I don't lose you more from your time of the coffee breaks, but in order not to be very delayed, I will recall you to be here in 20 minutes, if you don't mind. So please go for the coffee break. I would like to give the floor to my colleague Simona Emi, Program Manager of the Danube Transnational Program Joint Secretariat. She will explain you the Danube from a financial instrument perspective, technical requirements, expectations, supporting tools and bodies that you can use when elaborating your proposals to be submitted under the Danube Transnational Program. Please.
I hope that I will not be boring, because it is the end of the day. I have to present all these technicalities. I will try to make it as nice as possible and as simple as possible, because actually what you have to do is to read our documents, and we are just here to give you some hints on what is the program about and what is our framework. So, what is then a transnational program? We are a financing instrument of the European Commission. We are being funded in this programming period 2014-2020. We have a budget of around 262 million euro. Our budget, as it was said in the morning, is composed by three funds: ERDF for the member states, IPA for the non-EU countries, pre-accession countries, and ENI for Moldova and Ukraine, which we are hoping to have soon. We are part of the INTERREG family together with other CPC programs, transnational and interregional programs. In total, there are 106 ETC type of programs, which is really a lot, and that is why sometimes it's difficult to understand which funding is suitable for which program and so on. Talk too loud. I would like to highlight what is not then a transnational program, and I hope that you will still remain afterwards, because we are not a infrastructure type of program. I know that everyone is disappointed and everyone wants to build roads, buildings and other stuff, but also those roads and buildings need to have behind some studies, some feasibility studies, environmental studies and so on. Therefore, here we are supporting this type of activities, but we cannot finance the large infrastructure as we don't have the funds. Nevertheless, we finance small-scale infrastructure, which means that we can fund different type of investments in the projects, but the transnational character of this type of investments has to be demonstrated, and they have to bring added value to the proposal and to the project. We are not a research program, even though in our projects we do finance research type of activities. However, since this programming period and since the European Commission has a strong result-oriented approach, we need to see the results, meaning that whatever type of research activities are funded in the projects, these have to be translated into concrete and sustainable results that are transferable and then potentially can be used by other stakeholders or target groups. What do? We are funding joint cooperation projects that enhance capacity building and knowledge transfer. It was said in the morning. I speak too loud. Like this? Okay. In the morning it was highlighted several times that Danube region has strong disparities between west and east. This doesn't mean that in the east part of the region there is not the knowledge and the potential for innovation and potential for knowledge transfer between the regions. This is how we are coming here, and actually it is a horizontal theme of our program, this documented learning interactions, and it is an output horizontal output indicators that all our projects have to contribute to. In our program, we're paving the way for future investments, meaning that even though we do not finance the large-scale investments, we can serve as a starting point, as I said earlier, for actually having this type of infrastructure in the countries. I can give you an example. We can support the feasibility type of studies in the projects based on joint work of the partners, joint cooperation, and so on. So this doesn't mean that we are not contributing. Infrastructure and large-scale infrastructure is the last and final purpose. We are supporting the development of common frameworks in the different fields that we are financing in the program, in innovation, in environment, flood prevention, cultural and natural heritage, transport, energy, and governance. What does this mean? It means that we are actually living in a world and that is highly competitive. We need common framework at EU level, and countries can no longer perform by themselves because we are small. Here in Europe, there are many countries, small countries, so we need to jointly understand and to create the frameworks in order to become more competitive and to achieve growth actually. We are supporting the harmonization of policies. Actually, nowadays, if it's like in an orchestra, if someone sings differently, then the music doesn't sound the same. That's why it is important to understand that harmonization of policies, not only it is important, but it supports economic activities actually, because it is important, especially for the private sector, to understand that policies are quite the same, not going to one country having a different framework than the other, and so on. Like custom policies are usually different. In one country it takes 10 days to do a custom, in one country it takes only one. Therefore we can support each other in harmonizing this type of policies. And we want to create innovative solutions to common problems. This is one of our main purposes, is to be innovative and not to duplicate what has already been done, but actually to build on what has been done, but to take it into the direction to be and to incorporate innovation in all our projects. Who do we finance? These are more technical issues. We are financing public authorities and bodies governed by public law. European EGTCs are also included in this category. We are financing private non-profit bodies, and we are financing private profit-making bodies. All these type of partners are eligible in our program. The minimum requirements for the partnership is 3 financing partners coming from 3 different participating countries in the program, out of which at least one, the lead partner, is coming from a member state. When we are talking about the partnership, do not think that the minimum requirements, if they are respected, then the project will be financed. When building the partnership, as it was said in the presentation before me, you have to think of the topic that you are addressing, of the area, the geographical area that the proposal is referring to, and the partnership has to be built in accordance. We always look to have different linkages, the vertical and the horizontal one, and since we do want to be a policy driver in the area, then it is important that policymakers are involved in the partnership. Not necessarily to be involved as full partner, but they can be involved as associated strategic partners. Besides the financing partners, so the ones that are receiving funds from the program, we have in our program the associated strategic partners. These are not financed directly by the program, but their travel and accommodation costs are included in a budget of a sponsoring ERTF partner. What does this mean? This means that you can actually involve in the project ministries, you can involve in the project relevant partners that, that do not have the capacity to participate and to pre-finance the activities, or they consider that it's too bureaucratic work and they do not have the human resources. But they come in the project, they participate in the meetings, and their added value being the fact that they are supporting the project from a political point of view, from a point of view of taking the results and from and transferring them to other stakeholders or target groups. Where ASP can come from? ASP can come from EU countries in general, the entire European Union, or from non-EU countries of the program area. Non-EU countries of the program area will refer to Serbia, Montenegro, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Moldova and Ukraine. Therefore, an associated strategic partner coming from Macedonia or from Albania would not be eligible in our program. What type of expenditure we reimburse? We are reimbursing staff costs, office and administration, travel and accommodation, external expertise and services, equipment and infrastructure and works. Since we are going for a more simplified implementation of the program, two of these budget lines have the possibility to have the flat rate. This is in case of staff costs, where the flat rate is 20%, and in case of office and administration, where it's 15% out of the staff costs. I will not insist on this eligibility of expenditure because it's rather technical, and this is neither the place, this is not the place to discuss about this. You will see that we have specific seminars for teaching the partners how to build the budget, to teach them more about the eligibility of expenditure. As it was said in the morning, we have a result-oriented approach. And we would like, as a program, to create a change in the Danube region. This is our core principle. As a basis, and in order to achieve this, we are using the intervention logic. What is actually the intervention logic? Intervention logic is defining the status quo, the change that the program is seeking to achieve, the specific objective, actions, outputs, stakeholders, and target groups, and the results and durability. A precondition for a project to be approved under our program is that the project intervention logic and the program intervention logic are coherent, and we are actually assessing very thoroughly this aspect during the assessment of proposal. This is an example of the intervention logic and how it looks like in general. As you can see, every project has to define a main and specific objectives, which have to be clearly linked to one program-specific objective. For example, you are defining your objectives in the field of cultural and natural heritage, you have to link the specific objective to point 2. Nevertheless, as we understand that, and we all also appreciate the cross-sectorial approach, one project might contribute to a lesser extent to other specific objectives. The result defined by the project has to be linked to our result indicator as defined in the cooperation program, and the outputs that you are defining in your proposal have to be linked to the output indicator that we have predefined at program level. We have 4 types of output indicators. We have documented learning interaction. Each proposal is, which is a mandatory output indicator, and each proposal has to contribute to this one. We have strategies and action plans, tools, and pilot actions. There is often a misunderstanding on what a pilot action actually is. In our understanding, in the program understanding and definition, a pilot action is testing a solution, concept, service developed inside the project. It is not a pilot action, for example, to install, charging stations for bikes when the project has not done any concept of service in this respect. This is not a pilot action, it's an investment. What to keep in mind when you would like to apply to our program? We are financing transnational projects. Your projects have to stem out of a common need. It is obvious sometimes when projects are trying to stretch different local needs and they put it into a project, they try to dress it up for a transnational program. But it is visible. So you and your partners, you have to have a common need and to define your common need. You have to be careful with the coherence of the project intervention logic, as I said before. Contribution to EU strategy for the Danube region, it is important since our program, it is developed and it is coherent with the USDR. The partnership composition, as I said before, build the partnership according to the topic and according to the geography that has the common need and the common challenge. And durability and transferability of the project outputs. This is, in general, a weakness of the projects that they do not draft clear durability and transferability measures. If you are developing in your proposal IT tools, platforms, etc., we need to understand who is going to finance these tools actually after the project is closing, because we all know that in many cases, tools developed inside the project, once the financing stops, the tool is forgotten somewhere. If you are developing a feasibility study or a transnational strategy, we need to understand how we will apply this action in practice after the project is ending. Because there are many strategies who lay in closets or in drawers. We do not want to have this. How can we help you? We have, I myself am working for the Joint Secretariat, which is located in Budapest. The program has a network of national contact points in each country. Their contacts are available on our website. National contact points can really and actually help you in finding partners and relevant partners, because they have the knowledge at national level who is more active in participating in projects, who has the capacity to participate in projects and so on. So you can find their data on our website. What you have to, what we would like to stress that it is very important that you read our documents. And of course, there are questions, sometimes we also have questions. And you are reading them, you are asking the questions. We are always open to help the applicants and to support them in creating projects. So, and do not expect that if you don't read, I will understand from a presentation and so on. That's why my presentation did not have that information written down. Because I think it is important that you read for yourself and you try to understand our rules, and hopefully they are not complicated. I would like to say in the end that we are expecting that we are launching a second call program at the beginning of next year. So please check always our website for information, check our website for events that we will organize and that our national contact points will organize at national level. And yes, if you have any questions, then please. At the moment, we do not have the final figure because all the projects that have been selected will have to go through a condition clearing exercise, and which also implies some budgetary readjustments. So there is a budget for the second call, but at the moment we cannot give a figure.
Very much. I addressed this question also during workshop 2. My name is Cristina Sandu, and we are working for the sturgeon conservation. As it was mentioned a bit earlier by Gerd Jan, the sturgeons need to migrate from the Black Sea to the Danube, meaning that we need to cooperate with Ukraine and Moldova. Is it possible that they will be considered eligible under the next call?
Ukraine and Moldova are eligible even if we were eligible in the first call. In the second call, which was set in the morning, we are expecting that we will have ENI allocation in funds for Moldova. For Ukraine, we don't know yet. But for Moldova, we are expecting that yes, we will have the possibility to involve them as full partners.
Okay, as project partners. And then for Ukraine, would it be possible to consider them as associates?
Yes, always.
Okay, thank you.
you very much.
Simona, I would like to add that also, apart from checking frequently our website for information about new calls and new events, you can also subscribe to our online newsletter, and you will receive in your email all the information about the updated details on the program development. Just to conclude, I would like to tell you that next week you will receive, normally on Tuesday, an email inviting you to fill in a survey to give us your feedback about this event. And it's important for us to receive your feedback to improve our future events and to consider your remarks what you like more or you like a bit less concerning this event. And in that email you will have a link to the event website where you will have all the photos, there will be a video of the plenary sessions, and there will be all the presentations available. And when leaving the room, you also would like to invite you to drop your budget if you are using them to be reused and recycled for future events. But now, and before leaving the room, I would like to give the floor again to the head of the managing authority of the Danube Transnational program, who will give you a firewall and wish you future cooperation opportunities and summarize a little bit the event that we have had today.
Very short. I will not summarize the event because it would be quite extensive, and I'm not sure it would be best because we had the presentations and they were quite clear. We already summarized the workshop. This was the essential part of the conference. So the summary we can say. But I would like to first of all thank for the hosting country who host us here in Bucharest, also helping us in organizing the event, which was very essential. I would like to also thank very much for the experts and also for the colleagues to organize workshops and contribute to the event. And maybe just a couple of thoughts, not like a summary, but a kind of reaction on the event. We are really starting the discussions that we have possibility to cooperate, and cooperation was everywhere in the meeting, in the conference. The cooperation not only means to cooperate to have projects and to have funding for projects. The cooperation more and more should go down and to find common needs, common objectives, and it's much more essential discussion also, I would say, internal in the region. So for the benefit of the region, for the future of the region, this cooperation should go much deeper. And we can think it over backwards as well. When talking about projects, first of all, you have to think it over the needs. Develop the ideas first, to really start to think over what you would like to have, and then afterwards to find the best partnership, to find your partners in the country, all the countries where it is necessary, and then afterwards find the best and most fitting source for funding. And if it is a new program, then please turn to our colleagues in the secretariat and to the contact points in the countries, and then we have to develop a project for concrete investment, for concrete results. Thank you very much again for coming, and thank you very much for your contribution, which was very useful, and we really take into account for the future orientation of the